month of December in perhaps trying to understand the important tagging around the words, because when the data set itself is segregated in terms of understanding it from the standpoint view of data analytics and how data can be segregated, one is the color coding, second is the emphasis of the words depending upon the orchestration of the event or an embodiment. We will focus on today. So today the focus would be around the quantum part. We will walk you through few of the um, events which have been utilized to create use case study, and we will try and see if we can use it in the um, diagrammatic flow of understanding the workflow, particularly in terms of the smart contracts. And this is a kind of a co-processor, or I would rather say, let's take it into, if we have to give the term here, it would be the layer 2. uh, Layer 1, we understand the base right now in most of the um, coding world is on Ethereum. However, we are orchestrating different protocols. Already there are a number of protocols which are being developed to solve the problem statement and then utilize, particularly from the standpoint view of the quantum world, because we already discussed. And again, rewrite re we are not rewriting anything, we are just trying to understand the new world order, particularly in terms of the amalgamation of the capitalistic way of the work, plus the online world, the offline world, the hybrid world, plus the quantum understanding, because a lot of investment is going into the quantum understanding, and that too looking into how the weather conditions can be mitigated in terms of the global warming, which is a reality in the real world. So I'm putting myself on mute. Yesterday I suppose I just it was on mute, the session was on mute, so probably have to get the data set, or I have to re-record the whole session again. The paper is out. It is going to be uploaded in terms of the use case study which we were talking about in terms of the smart contracts. um, Once I receive the link, so it is already published in the um, hard paper. It is inked on the hard paper rather, and the online link would be generated in a couple of days from now. So we will try and understand the quantum world, and particularly try and understand it from the viewpoint of orchestrating new protocols, or rather working on the few protocols where we can have a loop, because the loop itself is sustainable enough to solve the problems at large. So putting myself on mute, will start in a while. If you have any questions, you can always put your questions in the comment box and we'll look into it. So for the context, I'll give you the link, or rather than the link, we'll just through the data sets right now. That will be better. So we'll first start to understand the simulation process around the modules, and this can be utilized in multifaceted way. So you have to look into the functional aspect of the tagging part of the designing of the architectural framework of the contract from the standpoint view of smart contract, and you can have your own layer 2 protocols. So here the emphasis is on the layer 2 protocols, and the layer 2 protocols itself are of many types. I'm not naming any protocol right now, but just adding a little bit of booster to those layers in terms of the understanding of uh, dividing the data in the best possible manner, utilizing the international standards. Because once you are able to contain the data in a container in different formats, it has a broader amplification. So the understanding today is to amplify the data, the amplify the architectural framework, and utilize it for solving the problem statements, particularly the standpoint view of the climate change. Okay, so first and foremost, we have design verification. So for the simulation, so in most of the cases, we need to simulate in a control just to see as to how the smart contract is actually going to work, whether it's on Ethereum or not. That is another question altogether, because a lot of research is ongoing where Ethereum is being neglected and the base layer is being developed again. And this time, this is because this is not with the gas fees. This is with the if I have to give an embodiment here, it would be around the candidates need to perform actionable items to earn that kind of barter system, which will be which is part of the new world order in terms of the online world, offline world, the remote work of the way the work is being done, plus the quantum world. Because once the quantum comes into play for real, there are a lot of parallel universe which works together. So that is where the emphasis is for the next 90 days. Okay, so the first verification is G06F30/3308 for the design optimization. So there are different layers to orchestrate the flow diagram or the flow chart. Now, when you are trying to understand and divide the same, you have to look into the finite element methods, that is FEM, and along with, I would say, FDM, that is finite difference methods. Now these are very well established. Now how you deploy the same in the best possible way, that is something where you need to have the direct methods or the relaxation methods. For timing analysis, we have G06F30/3312 for the ICT sector, computational theoretical chemistry, which is for the quantum chemistry. And this is interesting because that is going to play a pivotal role in terms of understanding the quantum part of the working analytics. G16C10/00. Then we have logic synthesis, which also includes the behavior synthesis. That is G06F30/327. So this is done. Let me just see if I wish to discuss this. Okay, there are embodiments whereby you are going to see the simulations. However, at the first instance itself, you need to determine the simulation scale. How simulation scale is defined, that is again a very in-depth research, because this kind of research itself takes around about 2-3 years of different silos wherever you are developing those data sets. But if I have to just look into the bigger aspect, we will try and understand this. Like, what is important here is to identify the missing inaccurate parameters. So when I say parameters, they can be finite parameters or infinite parameters. One of the good use case study would be to have finite parameters. And then, of course, One is automatically able to switch between tools um, that different simulation scales are providing in terms of the inaccuracies. So you need to understand the inaccuracies, and to understand the inaccuracies, you need to have finite number of. So look into that aspect. Okay, this is done. I'm happy with this one. Let's look into the next one. Okay, now we are. So one is supervised learning, second is unsupervised learning. I'm just um, going to the end of the spectrums to make it very simple for the folks, because what we are discussing is not something which just it comes out of the picture. This has been researched by numerous people, and these are the data sets which we have been working on for quite a while to create the layer 2 protocols. Some of the examples are there in the online world. The paper which I already submitted is published, so that would be there with folks maybe in next couple of days. It's already there in the hardcover. Okay, so in this we are talking about purposeful computing. It's interesting. Purposeful computing uh, can mean a lot to a lot of people in terms of just the understanding of this word. However, so clustering or classification is G06F16/285, handling natural language data, that is G06F40/00, rebalancing the load in a distributed system, G06F9/5083. Then we have resource allocation based on prediction. So there's a different tagging for the prediction, and there's a different tagging for personalization. So for the personalization, we have G06F16/9535 usage prediction, that is G04L47/83. Okay, so operating session. So this is something we have been using, but a sense of it, I'll just talk about it a little bit more. Should I talk about the system or not? I'm just trying to understand this one. Okay, let me see the loops here. Okay, we'll move on to the next application. Okay. Compare or understand when we are orchestrating multi-scale simulation with the available AI tools. I mean, the tools are fantastic. It is just a kind of I would say a black hole in terms of if you just get into the tools. There are so many tools which are coming every day, and some are really good tools. The challenge would be right now in 2026 how to utilize these tools, and just I would say have a very minimalistic UI, and that UI will take care of the candidates who would be user of the application. The point here is, what is the problem statement you are trying to solve with that application is the question you need to answer. And once you have that answer, you already have these modules in place. Everything is click and drop. It's just that a simple understanding of the modules, submodules, and their integrations with the databases is the magic key to develop a new business model in 2026 to solve the current problems. Okay, we will talk about multi-scale simulation, and for that I'll just talk about a little bit about the designing part here. For priority of task, we have taking priority of time dependency constraint into consideration. That is part of G06F9/5038. Task lifecycle, which has obviously lifecycle itself has loads of tasks. Here it talks about stopping, restarting, resuming, and execution. 6 G06F9/485. Design optimization, we already talked about design optimization, verification or simulation. it's good enough. I mean, verification and simulation, it can be two different embodiments that will be able to look into the requirement as to the problem statement to be resolved. Next, for the mapping purpose of the subtask based on the multiple uh, processing units would be G06F9 slash 5066. So this is done. Okay, I'll just discuss this a little bit more in detail, and then we are good for today in terms of this discussion. Just remember to develop the synopsis around circular economy. The whole discussion. So the core of the discussion, apart from the IP work we do, um, is to sensitize folks to understand the broader meaning of few terms, phrases, which has a lot of weightage in terms of how the new world order should proceed. Having said that, it is important to understand and appreciate the kind of research which has been done globally. And this research is not that it is done 2 years back or 3 years back. A research which is 20 years back done is very much applicable today given the problem statement. So the point always would be to understand the circular economy, and the circular economy in terms of having different quadrants. One is online, offline world, the remote work, work from home, then amalgamation of everything with the quantum world, and whatever quadrant is left. Honestly speaking, I haven't given any percentage to that because I want to see the control units first in terms of the deployment. And once we have that data, then only I'll be in a better position to give a percentage to these quadrants. So the understanding right now is for the next 90 days, we just want to develop these small use case studies. And around the same, because the quantum comes into picture, whatever is developed, that would be deployed with the percentage in the next quarter. Probably, I'm looking at April 2026 for that aspect. Okay, what do we have here? Okay, this is complex. Let me make it simple. Okay, say for example, there is a determination step. So I'm trying to explain this in a very layman term. So there's a determination step of execution of a parameter which had to be executed. So the results will show perhaps whether the result is meeting the target, that is the output, or the work which was supposed to be executed had to be cancelled. So whatever is freed or whatever to the loop again, and it restarts, so that one is able to accomplish the same in the online world with the offline world, and that amalgamation itself. This is a little bit complex because this is layer 2 level of protocol, and probably, maybe, I'm not very sure whether I'll be coming online again or not today, but perhaps tomorrow we will deep dive into some of the protocols which are well established, being utilized and used as a open source. So we will discuss those aspects tomorrow. If you have any questions in terms of this understanding, you can always send us a DM, and we can always collaborate on something which is interesting enough and solve the SGD goal 2030 right now, which is one of the paramount stuff which needs to be looked into. Thank you for watching this out. Have a great day ahead.